listening to the Pohhu Experience.
Yo, so for the last couple of weeks here in Taiwan, apparently there has been an egg shortage. And I'm not sure if this is like around the world. I saw some news here and there about worldwide there's some kind of egg shortage, but I didn't go down that rabbit hole. I've been kind of living in a smaller bubble lately. But here in Taiwan, there's a very obvious egg shortage. For the past 2 weeks, it was kind of difficult to get eggs. Then eggs just started to become a lot more expensive. And the last couple of days, there's just no eggs. I just can't find any eggs at all. I mean, over here, I have Uber Eats, which I can do groceries on. I can go to all the different supermarkets. Like they even now have extended it to the wet markets. So basically anything within my vicinity, I kind of have access to through my phone. And I was checking everywhere, every supermarket, every market. There is just no eggs. The only eggs available are century eggs, like those black eggs, or salted eggs, which those aren't the eggs that I want. I want fresh eggs. And I even took like 5 minutes to think like, does it really make a difference that I don't have eggs in my diet for the next, couple of weeks or months, however long this shortage lasts? And I know it actually doesn't make much of a difference at all. I could get protein and fats from another source, but it's just that I really love eggs. Eggs is just something I really, really enjoy, and I guess I took for granted. Like whenever I eat out and there's the choice, do you want to add an egg on top? The answer is always yes. It's like, do you want extra eggs? Yes. Is there an egg dish you could order separately? Yes. The answer is always yes. And I guess some places that uses eggs regularly, they still have access to it, because the other day we had McDonald's as a family breakfast and we all had sausage McMuffins with egg and everyone had an egg. There was no problem there. But anyway, I still really wanted my eggs, right? So I was looking around seeing what solutions there were, and apparently a lot of people in the forums here were saying like, well, you can still order it directly from the farmers. Like it's likely they'll charge you like the normal rate and they'll send it directly to you. But there's just a minimum amount that you have to buy for them. So I went to check that out and I found it. I found some egg farmers that were willing to sell and send directly to my home. Except the caveat was I had to buy 60 minimum at once. And I sat there for a little while. I'm like, 60 eggs. All right, there's 4 people in a family. Let's say we max out. Everyone has 3 a day. That's 12 a day. That's actually very doable. Of course, that's not our usual habits, but it's like we can finish 60 eggs before it all goes bad or gets kept longer than it should be kept for. And so I went for it. And so for the first time in my life, I am purchasing 60 eggs. And for whatever reason, it's not exactly a life achievement or anything. It just feels like, man, this is one thing that I probably would never experience in my life. But well, you only live once. One of the things that I want to talk about this episode was something that I heard again over the week, and I thought it'll be a really interesting conversation because these are the conversations I usually don't have on this channel, but I think it's quite important to start diving into it now that most of my content, I'm moving away from all the basic stuff and going into a little bit deeper, a little bit more detailed about this whole health, fitness, weight loss, this life journey. And so the thing that I want to discuss was this phrase that I hear quite often and I do agree with, and I think we all almost need a little bit of in order to progress towards our goals or even reach our goals. And so what is the quote? It is, to be the best, you have to be obsessed. I'm not quite sure when's the first time I heard the phrase, but it was definitely after I started my IG journey, where as I started to interact more with people in the fitness world and also the content creator world, a lot of times when describing those on top, the things that they do is very, very close to like a pure obsession. Like let's take Mr. Beast, for example. Like if you really go down Mr. Beast rabbit hole, you realize that yes, he's doing amazing on YouTube. Most subscribed YouTuber right now if you add all of his channels together. And his videos are truly amazing. Maybe not exactly my taste, but definitely got to give him credit for all the work that he's putting into it and all of the ideas that he comes up with. But when I watch interviews of Mr. Beast and he's describing his process, he's describing his mindset on pursuing YouTube, it's literally the definition of an obsession. Like his life is YouTube. There's nothing else. I remember a lot of times the interviewer would ask him about world issues, like what he thinks about social media's impact on humanity or, all the racism, sexism issues involved. And his answer would be like, I don't know how to give you a good answer, man. All I'm thinking about is how do I make the next best video and how do I entertain people and get more views? Like that's his mindset. It's obsessive, but he is also the best. And it's not just Mr. Beast as an example. Like if you look at people from every field, like let's say the top MMA fighter, the champion, or top bodybuilders, top esports players, when you dig a little deeper in what they're doing in their day-to-day routine, you realize that, man, this is the life they're living. Like they're going really all out. Top bodybuilders are counting every calorie. They're counting every calorie they consume. They're counting every calorie they burn. They're measuring all their workouts to the rep to know where they are. They're managing their fatigue. They're managing their rest. Like for some people that aren't competing will look at that and be like, man, that's a shit life. Like I would never live like that. There's no fun at all. But of course, for these people, they're not chasing fun. They're chasing to be number one. And so that's where the obsession comes in. And then that obsession is what literally brings them to the very top. And it's not like the top of a country, a city, a town, a group of friends. It's the top of the world. And why I wanted to talk about this is I used to have a knee-jerk reaction whenever I hear the word obsession, because I always thought obsession was a bad thing. It's just had this like negative connotation to it. But then hearing the phrase again and again, seeing all these people on top of their fields and comparing it to my own journey, like, me losing over 50 kilograms, me building this channel from scratch where, we started with nothing. We started with a podcast into IG, into, hundreds of thousands of followers. It's something that I dreamed of, but didn't expect I could achieve, and especially didn't expect that I could achieve in such short time. Now, not to toot my own horn or anything, I'm far from the number one. I'm far from greatness compared to all the truly great top guys out there. But I also can acknowledge that it's a big leap. It's a lot of growth. It's a lot of progress. And when I reflect on myself, on the things I was doing during those times, there was definitely some kind of obsession involved. I was definitely obsessed with calorie counting at one point, where fucking up the numbers really upsetted me. I wanted to make sure all my numbers were as accurate as possible. And I was really that guy, that guy or gal that you've heard of growing up that read the encyclopedia or read the dictionary for fun. Like there's always that one friend or one acquaintance, right? And you're like, man, that person's a weirdo. Like, why would you do that? But then, of course, you'd have to acknowledge, hey, they're actually pretty smart. They're actually doing really well in school, get good grades and all that. And then you're like, yeah, of course, man, you're reading the dictionary and encyclopedia for fun. Well, I'm at home, playing video games for fun. There's a big difference. But then that's kind of like me and calorie counting. Because when I started calorie counting, I'd literally sit for hours just playing on my phone. But I'm not playing a game. I'm not surfing IG. I'm not surfing the web. I'm in MyFitnessPal, putting in every food that I can think of. In the beginning, where I didn't understand that, if you put in chicken breast, there would be like 10 entries, all chicken breast, and the numbers all slightly different, right? I went into all of those and, kind of made a mental note, like, what's all the differences? Does the difference actually make a difference? I was going through all of that. I was just obsessed with this whole method because it felt so real to me. It felt like finally for fat loss, I have something I can check up on. Like there's stats that I can look at. Whereas the type of diets I'd go on before would be like, eat more meals, but less in each meal, and then you'll lose weight. And it's like, I don't exactly know how much more meals is more meals. And I don't exactly know how much less every one of those meals I'm supposed to eat is. But apparently if you follow that, you're supposed to lose weight. And of course it didn't. But it's just, everything was so abstract, right? Like stop eating rice and you're going to lose weight. Well, I tried that for a year. I gained weight, or meat is not good for you. You got to go vegetarian in order to lose weight. And I did that too. And I freaking gained weight. Now I'm thinking back, there was a time I went like vegetarian, vegan, and, plant-based diet. And I gained weight during that time. And I remember very distinctively, there was one time mommy and some families came over for dinner and we were having KFC. And because I was on plant-based diet, I couldn't eat the chicken. I couldn't eat the nuggets. All I could really eat was the fries, right? So I was eating like 3-4 portions of large fries with white rice. I think that was a time that we were still living in Jakarta. And so the KFC there, they come with white rice. So that's what I got. And it's just kind of funny now that I'm thinking back, because now that I'm counting calories, rice with 3-4 large fries, like I think I had 2 rices, 3-4 of the large fries with all kinds of ketchup and, chili sauce, whatever. That's easily over 1,000 plus calories. Like I probably could have ate the chicken, be satisfied with a lot less calories, but that's what I did. But anyway, off track. Let's get back on track. The point is, the things that I've experienced in my life, and not just losing weight, not just like the IG channel, there's a lot of other things that I might go into in the future, but I realized that perhaps it's part of my personality that when I really get into something, I get kind of obsessive with it. But then because I'm obsessed with it, I start to see results. I start to be able to do things I never thought I could. And throughout my journey, there was a lot of times where, people would say stuff like, hey man, I think, you're going a bit overboard. You're a bit obsessed, trying to kind of, I don't want to say they're trying to make me feel guilty, but kind of like, dude, you could chill out a a little bit, but that's just not how I work. I don't chill out. If I really want something, I really chase after it. And so when I'm thinking about obsession in my life, it's all been positive markers. Of course, if you want to say, has there been negative things that happened in my life before, I would say that, because of my obsession with calorie counting and losing weight during that time I lost over 50 kilograms, January 1st, 2015 to the end of 2016, that whole period of time, I used to say and felt that I regretted that during that time, my social life definitely took a dive. Like I just stopped hanging out with people that I felt there was no value of. And I know that really sucks to say out loud, but value as in like, I feel like we're wasting time. Like we're always hanging out and just talking nothing. We're small talking. I'm not giving you any value. You're not giving me any value. And I just feel like, you know what? I'd rather be at home surfing my fitness pal. And I used to feel a lot of regret for that because I definitely lost a lot of friendships because of that. But now I'm thinking back and really analyzing what I went through. I start to ask myself, like, was it really a bad thing? Because those choices is what made me able to move forward to where I am today. And without doubt, where I am today is the healthiest and happiest I've ever been. Was that really a wrong choice? And I still don't really have that answer, but I feel a lot less regret about it because I realized that what I was doing back then was being conscious and unforgiving with my time. Like if I was going to spend my time, it was going to be on something I truly felt value for and not doing it just to kind of show face and be like, hey, I was there. You can't complain that I never show up to these things. The very trying to be nice, but nobody wins kind of thing. And now I feel maybe it wasn't the wrong choice after all, but that's another conversation again. Point is, while there's negative and positive to this obsessive state, I genuinely feel that more positive came than negative. And don't get me wrong, I do feel that some people that are obsessed, you could be obsessed about the wrong thing and it just totally digs you into a very, very dark place and definitely not healthy, definitely not a good thing. I totally recognize that. But I think obsession isn't that black and white. Like if you're obsessed with self-improvement, if you're obsessed with being a better version of yourself, is that really a bad thing? Is it really fair to just categorize like, oh, obsession equals bad? And then there's like levels to it, right? If you're like level 1 or 2 obsession, just, very little, it's not really a bad thing. It's almost like a motivation, a drive. If your obsession 10 could be a bad thing, but it's not always. Like, somebody like Mr. Beast is definitely level 10 in obsession, but I'd argue he seems quite happy and is doing a lot of good for the world, for society. Is that a bad thing? And so why I wanted to talk about this phrase, to be the best, you have to be obsessed, because I get a lot of questions like, how do I be more motivated? How do I become more disciplined towards my goals? And I'm starting to feel that you need a little bit of obsession towards your goals in order to move towards to it. Because, it's really easy to want stuff. Like if you ask me right now, things that I want, right? And it's like, there's a million things I'd want. I wish I was like the best violin, piano, guitar player. I wish I owned a yacht or owned a plane. And then if you take the next step and ask me, okay, so, what are the things that you're doing to move towards those goals? And I'll very much in your face tell you nothing, because I acknowledge I want it. Like if somebody gave it to me for free, if I didn't have to work towards it, I'd happily take it. But if I have to work towards it, I'm not going to do anything about it. So it's like back to the question of how much do you want it? It's easy to want something, but do you want it badly enough that you're going to do something about it, that you're going to change your life in order to get towards it? And that's kind of the same with like losing weight. I think everybody wants to lose weight. Everybody wants to look a little bit better. Everybody wants to pack on a little bit more muscle. But are you willing to put in the work? Because it's not hard. The things that you got to do, you got to start being more aware of your diet. You got to be in a calorie deficit for if you want to lose weight. And that means you're going to have to more or less deal with hunger here or there. And it's not going to be very comfortable. And if you're going to the gym and you want to build some muscle, it's not like you could just do nothing, never have muscle soreness, and muscles are going to grow. You're going to feel that discomfort. It's not going to be flowers and roses every single time. And there is definitely going to be time where you're like, fuck, dude, I don't want to go to the gym. But then you have to go if your goal really means anything to you. And so that's why I'm starting to find obsession almost a necessity, and not like obsession level 10, like obsession level 1 or 2. Like you got to care about your goals a little bit more than usual. You can't just want it. You need to kind of really want it. Not to the point where you flip your life upside down and, make enemies with everybody around you and just become this hermit and, tunnel vision to get to this goal. Well, that could work, but it's like not necessary. You don't have to become a villain to achieve your goals, but you need to want it a little bit more than usual. You need to be a little bit obsessed with it. And I don't know if obsessed is the word. It's maybe because I just keep hearing this phrase, to be the best, you got to be obsessed. But it's just like you need to work a little bit harder. You need to lean towards a little bit of obsession rather than thinking like, oh, I don't want to do that. That's crazy. It's just like how some people automatically link calorie counting to obsessive behavior. It's like, so what? If I look at my bank account every day, if I budget my finances, that makes me obsessive. It's like, I'm just trying to be responsible. I'm trying to be a responsible adult and make sure I don't put myself or my family in a hole. So I track my finances. It's the same thing as the way I track my calories. I try to make sure that, some days I want to have fun, but don't have so much fun that I wreck my health, or don't have so much fun that I start regretting the things that I'm eating. And of course, that's also with some self-awareness. Like I know that if I don't track my calories, I can be, off the hook. I can really just go overboard. Of course, I'm not talking about a day. I'm talking about, like a time frame, like, 3 to 6 months or a year where I just don't track at all. I'd feel that I don't have control in that part of my life, and it made me feel quite uncomfortable. So is that an obsession? I don't know. Like I see it as a tool that keeps me in check, a tool that keeps me in control. So back to the questions that people like to ask me, like, what do you do when there's a lack of discipline or lack of motivation? And I think there's two sides to it, right? Like one, it's you're truly lost. You really just don't know what to do. You don't know where to start. And that's kind of how I try to build my channel for people that don't know where to start. Here's a place to start. Like this is ground zero. You can start here. And so most of my content aren't that advanced. I assume most people here are just starting out or in near the beginning phase. And usually the people that get more advanced into their journey, we start to have a conversation in the DMs or by email, where my advice and recommendations would be a little bit different than a beginner. And also, since 2023, I've been starting to lean a little bit towards non-beginner because I'm starting to see, most people that are still hanging around on the channel now, most of you guys have been here for like years already. And you've heard the same shit that I've been saying over the past few years. It's time we moved on to like the next step and the next step after that. And it was a big decision for me to make because it meant that I had to come into terms with my channel will stop growing because I'm no longer looking for new people to follow me, but I'm more cultivating a deeper relationship with the people that are already here. And that would mean the numbers wouldn't look as good as it ever did before. It might even start, downward spiraling. And I had to be okay with that. And I was. This is the direction we're going in, which is, also like this conversation right now we're having. This is something you probably have never heard me talk about. And if you've been here since like 2018, 2019, this is completely deeper stuff that I'm hoping to share with you to give you a deeper view into what the journey is like. But anyway, the two sides of the lack of discipline or lack of motivation, right? So like I mentioned just now, one is you're just really lost, don't know what to do, don't know where to start. And two, it's just simply, it's not high enough on your priority list. In other words, you're not obsessed enough. Because like the fact is, like here on my channel, I'm giving you all the tools you need to get started. Maybe if you need something more advanced, I don't have it here. You'd have to consult with me one-on-one or hire another coach to help you move forward. But in terms of getting started, I'm giving you everything here for free. I'm telling you what apps to use. I'm telling you what calculators to use, where to start. Like this is everything you need. The next step that you got to do is just put in the work. And I'm telling you even the time frame, you got to try to be as consistent as possible at that 80% consistency. You got to try it for at least 3 to 4 weeks before you say that it's not working or you're lacking motivation or anything. Like everything is available to you here. And if you're still like, I don't know, I still lack discipline or motivation, then you got to start questioning yourself, how much of a priority is losing weight to you? And it's not a question to shame yourself. I think a lot of times people take it like, hey, you're just not working hard enough into a very negative thing. The way I see it is if you recognize that you're not working hard enough and you can genuinely admit to yourself why, like, hey, I'm just not working towards it because I'm going through a heartbreak, just broke up with a, 3-year relationship and I need some time to recover. So, I'm prioritizing that over my diet and exercise. Like, hey, great. That's totally cool. That's fine. That's not shameful. That's just life. It's okay. And now you've recognized it. So why don't you heal your heart first, however long that takes, and know that when you're done healing your heart, if you still want to take a shot at this weight loss thing, at this health and fitness thing, hey, it's right here. And you have all the power in the world to start. And that's always the direction when I'm asking people like, hey, do you actually even want to lose weight? Like, are you even working hard enough? Like, that's where I'm trying to get at. Because if the answer is no, that's totally fine. I'm not here judging you like, oh yeah, of course you're not making any progress. You're just freaking lazy. Stop being lazy. It's not that at all. I mean, for me, being lazy is fine. Just acknowledge you're being lazy and then everything is okay. Because if you don't acknowledge it, you just start struggling. You start struggling really hard. You're like, oh my God, I'm not putting any work into my goals. But then when your goals are just this thing that you're not willing to work towards, and then so you feel bad towards wanting something you're not willing to work towards, it's just this cycle of negativity, this cycle of self-doubt, and just nothing good comes out of that. Another story on my obsession with, fitness and health and calorie counting and all that was, remember the last episode I was talking about supplements and like multivitamins? I actually went down and researched every single vitamin, like I mentioned before. But what I actually did was I created a diet that hit all the vitamins and minerals, that all the daily recommended ones that you needed. Of course, it was a very miserable diet. I only ate foods that gave me the nutrition that I need on a daily basis. Because at that time, my brain was like, fuck taste. I don't care how food tastes. I want to be as healthy as possible. So what do I need in my diet? Make sure I hit every vitamin A, B, C, D, everything. I hit my iron, hit fiber, and to be within the calorie limit of whatever I'm doing. So if I'm in a deficit, it's got to fit the deficit. If I'm in a maintenance or a surplus, it's got to fit that. Like, I went down that road, and I did stick to that for, I think, a good 3 to 6 months, where it was just what, everybody would call the 100% clean diet. But of course, over time, I felt like, I was really just no joy. There was no more joy. I might be the healthiest person in the world, but I felt no joy at all. And, things start to change. But that's not the point. The point is, because of that obsessive behavior, because of how obsessed I was with food, with nutrition and all that, that I basically learned the bulk of my nutrition knowledge from that obsession, because I was so obsessed with being healthy. And one thing that I didn't expect but kind of saw it coming was, this was all before I got my PT license, I got my nutrition certificate and all that. And when I was doing them at that time, you have to take an exam at the end. The nutrition part was always just second nature to me. It was like I didn't even really need to look at the textbook. I already knew most of the answers. And that all just came from being obsessed. I guess in a long-winded way, I'm trying to say that, I think part of my obsession is what helped me kind of grow this channel as well. Like, all my knowledge comes from that. Like, I want to look at research papers because I want to know. It's really not going into looking at research papers. So like, okay, what content can I make out of this? Or, some kind of social media thing. Like, if there's a new study about the amount of protein taken before or after a workout, like, I want to know. I might not ever talk about it on social media, but I want to know for myself, what's the research say now? Like, it really interests me. And I guess this is where you could kind of do a little balancing act. Well, where does obsession meet passion? Which is which? Is passion just another word for obsession? And I don't know. I don't know. I guess that's a conversation we could have another time if we deep dive into obsession and passion. But yeah, I just really want to share this thought process. To be the best, you got to be obsessed, because I think there's some truth to it. I think you don't need to go overboard, but I do think you need to have that little edge, right? You want to really want it. You want to really want to get better. You want to really want to lose weight, and want it not just be like, oh my God, I really want it. I'm so impatient. I want it tomorrow. I want it now. How come I can't have it now? It's like, dude, all of us want it now. If possible, I'd want everything tomorrow. But then unfortunately, that's just not how the world works. There are things that even if you go at the maximum speed, it is not as fast as you would want it. And if you recognize that and just focus on what you can do on a day-to-day basis and maximize that, then it's inevitable. It's impossible to not reach your goals. You're just going to reach it. You just have to be patient now. You just have to wait till that day as you maximize daily progress until it hits like the final marker that you want it to be at. There was a question in my DMs that I promised this guy that I'd answer, and my DMs get really jumbled up. And that's why I always say, like, if it's something important that you want to show me or tell me, email is always number one. Like, email is not so jumbled up. I'll always see the emails that come in, and I read every single one. Even though I might not have the time to reply to every single one, I'll read every single one. That's the for sure way you'll reach me. But DMs, oh God, it's like things just get lost. But anyway, there was a question that I promised this person that I would answer, and I didn't. And I think it's been like a month, and I feel really bad about it. And so I'm going to answer it here. And it's about fat shaming. And so the question was how to deal with fat shaming in the context of entering a gym for the first time as a fat person and feeling afraid near all these fit people, they might glance over and all that. Like, how do you deal with that? And so my answer to that would be, I totally understand the fear. I totally understand the possibility of judgment. But here's the dead facts. It's most people at the gym are really not concerned about anybody around them. Like, no matter how fit or not fit they look, they have enough insecurities that they're dealing with themselves that they're just not, if they're looking at you, they're just looking around like, they're not thinking about you. There's just, their eyes are wandering. They're much more focused on themselves than anyone else. In other words, bottom line, nobody cares. Nobody cares how you look in the gym, whether you look good or look bad. Like both, nobody really cares. And if anything, for me, my mindset is when I see somebody like, super overweight, obviously new to the gym and all that, when I see that, in my mind, it's really like, damn, let's fucking go. Like you're here working on yourself. You're here obviously trying to become a better version of yourself. And that's inspiring to me. Just like this question, I know how uneasy it could be for somebody to step into the gym when they're obviously overweight, when they're obviously trying to work on something. And I also know there's a lot of people that decided to not go to the gym because of this fear. They just couldn't get over this anxiety. And I think a lot of my friends that go to the gym regularly, like we all kind of have the same mindset. We really never view negatively on how people look in a gym. But of course, I'm talking a very small sample size, right? Me and people I know, my friends. And of course, 100%, they're going to be weirdos. They're going to be assholes at the gym. Like that's kind of true for everything, right? Workplace, school, whatever. There's always going to be a bad apple. And that's, you just kind of have to deal with it. Just kind of have to try to ignore it. There's just life. There's not much you can do about that. And for my own experience is, I think before I got to the gym, I was already kind of numb from fat shaming because I grew up as the fat kid, right? So I was bullied in school for being fat. I was always conscious about my weight. I was always the fat kid amongst my friends. Fat jokes were an everyday thing. And so I started to go to the gym at around 15, 16 years old. And it's just, I wasn't really training hard or anything. It's just, it became the next cool thing to go to a gym and work out. And my friends would ask me along and I'd go there. And so I got used to a gym environment, I guess at a younger age. And I just had enough fat shaming in my life that in the gym, I never even really thought about it. Like gyms just never bothered me. Like I had enough shit in my everyday life going to a gym with strangers looking at me, but not talking to me or saying anything to my face. Best case scenario. Like if you're looking at me but not calling me fat or not making fat jokes, cool with me. Like that's I call that a good day. And so I guess that's kind of biased. That's kind of unfair to this question when I say I never really had a problem going to gyms. But there's one thing I'll say though, if you're feeling like that at the gym, it's never really going to go away. And I feel this not at the gym, but I feel this as I was progressing through my journey where I just never feel good enough. So if you first start at the gym and you see all these fit people around you, you're like, man, I'm just not good enough, right? But then this not good enough thought process doesn't really end there. Over time, you're going to get more fit. If you saw yourself, 6-8 months from now, the old you would probably look at the new you and be like, man, I'm just not good enough. But the new you is currently good enough for the old you. But now the new you is looking at other people that are fitter than you and you're still thinking the exact same thing. Man, I'm not good enough. I'm fit now, but not as fit as that guy, not as fit as that gal. And then so you keep working hard. Another 6 months, another 1 year, and you're obviously making a lot of progress during this time. You're still gonna look around and be like, God damn, look at that. Look at that bodybuilder. So much, his arms are so much bigger than mine. Look at his abs, man. Mine look like nothing. Mine look like little skeletons, where those are like completely Men's Health magazine front cover abs. Like it doesn't end. It never stops. And I totally get it. I totally understand. I think it's a natural way our brain works, especially when there's low self-confidence, low self-esteem. We're always going to look out and just be afraid of other people's judgment that we see that are better than us. But I think the comfort is everybody's like that. Nobody really cares. Most people have low self-esteem. Most people have insecurities they're dealing with. You're thinking this way, so is the person that you're looking up to. Everybody is going through something quite similar. And so how do you go to the gym for the first time? I'd say, just go. People are going to glance over. It's just what happens at the gym, right? It's not even a purposeful thing. Between sets, people are resting. They're going to look around. You can't expect them to go face the wall every time they're having having a break, right? They're going to look around, but 99% promise you they're not placing any judgment. They're just really looking around. This reminds me of that TikTok trend in the past couple of months where these girls would film themselves working out at the gym, like their own workout sets. And then, there'll be maybe a guy in the background, and the guy isn't even really doing anything crazy, isn't even like staring at them or anything. It's just every time they're looking at their general direction, they start saying stuff like, oh my God, this is so creepy. This weirdo is staring at me. I wish these people would die. I wish these people would go away. But then when you watch those TikTok videos, you realize like, dude, this guy's just like taking a break from his set, and he's really just glancing around and not staring at all. It's like every time his head turns towards the direction, they label that as a stare. And of course, eventually these like TikTok creators, they got called out and they came out with an apology saying, they just made a big deal out of nothing. But it was a trend for a while. It was a thing where you try to spot the creepy guy glancing over at you at the gym. It's like, that guy's not even thinking about you at all. He's in between his sets. He's probably thinking, man, that last set was so tiring. I don't know if I can go for another one or two. And then the girls think, every guy's a pervert. Every guy's thinking about something sexually. It's like, that's not usually the case at the gym. But of course, I get it. There's been a lot of weird ass things that happen at the gym. I remember seeing like a couple of years back, there's some crazy ass security guard that was sniffing a girl's crotch every time she did a squat or something, and it was caught on like security footage. I thought that was a prank or a joke or something, but man, that's pretty fucked up. He got fired and dealt with. So, it's not to say that there's no weirdos at the gym, but then not everybody is a weirdo. Not everybody is a creep. And in the same sense that there might be assholes at the gym where you go and they're very judgmental and they're, make your experience feel like shit. But the majority of people aren't that. I can promise you that. In most gyms, gyms are a business at the end of the day. They want to be as friendly as possible. They want you to come back. And if something's bothering you or, something you don't understand, like feel free to ask around at a gym. I'm pretty sure every gym, the people there, they want to help. They want to help you get the most out of your experience there. They want you coming back. They're not there to judge you or to shame you for being overweight while you're at the gym. I mean, that's why you're in the gym in the first place, right? You're trying to work on yourself because you're not where you want to be. So I hope that eases your tension and, relaxes you a little bit to go to the gym, because I promise you, most people are worrying about themselves. You go out there, you do the best you can. You worry about yourself. If anything, if you feel like people are judging you, use that as fuel, use that and say, all right, you're judging me, give me 6 months and I'll show you what I look like. And at the end of 6 months, you realize that's all a battle in your head and you just gave yourself more fuel and like nobody really cared. Nobody's applauding and nobody's putting you down. It's just maybe what it felt like during that time. So, I hope this helps. I want to talk a little bit about AI and specifically ChatGBT and the Microsoft Bing chat, because I feel like it's moving faster than my head can comprehend. And so let me break it down for you to see where my head is at right now. So a couple of weeks ago, I forgot it's last week or last week, Linus from Linus Tech Tips, the YouTube channel, or LTT if you've heard of it, he was doing a live stream podcast and they were trying out the new chat AI from Microsoft. It's different than ChatGBT. It's like really chatting with a bot, like you'll ask him actual like conversational like questions. And so as a test, they asked the Bing AI chat a specific question of how many LTT bags, their merch bags, like it's a backpack, would fit in the trunk of a Tesla Model Y. And when they typed that in, you could see the chat AI bot doing its work. At first, it searches for that exact question, and then it'll see that there's no clear answer to that exact question. So it starts searching the dimensions of the merch bags, and then it starts searching the dimensions of the Tesla Model Y trunk, and then it started searching for examples of bags being put in the trunk of a Model Y, and it found like a video or something of luggages that fit in a Model Y trunk. Then it looked up the dimensions of those luggages for a better reference point on how many of the merch bags would fit, and then gave an estimated answer. And then all of this happened in like 10-20 seconds, which is like, that's crazy. That's really crazy, because if you think about it, this is a real person's job. Like let's say Linus wanted to make a video about how many of their bags could fit into a Model Y trunk. You would assign somebody on your team to do this, like go figure it out, go do the Googling or go try it out in real time, get as many bags as you can, see how many fits in a Model Y trunk. It would take hours to get an answer when this AI bot did it in 10-20 seconds. And not only that, if you assigned a human person to do it, like to do the Google search themselves, it's like, okay, dimensions of the bag, you got to do the math, dimensions of the Model Y trunk, you got to do the math, search for examples. That still takes a couple of hours as well, but this is all down to like 10-20 seconds and you could just do it at the comfort of of your phone. That's so crazy. It blew my mind to see that, because I know it opens a lot of opportunities and it opens a lot of things that I could do. I'm putting it in the context of me because I work solo all this time, right? Like, every video I've ever made, every article I've ever written, every picture I've ever posted, edited, that's all me. That's 100% me. And that's not to say, oh, this is how busy I am, or, oh, look at all my skill sets. It's not that. It's really not that at all. It's just, I don't work well with other people. If there's a choice that I can do something myself, I do it myself rather than have a team and have to lie as a team and look over them. Like, I'd rather just do everything myself, which is a big reason why I haven't really been able to expand beyond IG, because it's just like, I don't have enough time in the day. A lot of people have been trying to convince me over the years, like, why don't you just hire somebody or, work with a freelancer? You could get your YouTube up, TikTok, LinkedIn, everything, and you could be on all social media platforms. And I thought of it for a long time, but I always just felt that I think what makes my channel special is my voice. And I think once you start to go wide and hire a team, that voice gets lost. Or at least I understand that you can still keep that voice, but then to me, it's like, it's no longer 100%. It's maybe 80, 90%. And I just have a weird stubbornness where I hope that everything that comes out of my channels, my content and all that, it's all 100% me. So I'm not sure what I can do with this being AI chat, but it does feel like I'm in control to grow bigger. I'm in control to like cast my net a little wider, because there's a personal AI assistant here that can help me with things and get things done a little bit faster. I need some time to really digest what all these implications are. And it's like, just the other day I was surfing through YouTube and there was a video recommended to me on how to use ChatGBT to inspire content. And I was like, what the hell is this? So I went to look at it, and apparently now there are a lot of YouTubers using ChatGBT, feeding them like, hey, these videos are doing really well. Out of these videos, what do you think I should make that's somewhere around the lines of the same idea but never been done before? And then so you get all these title and topic ideas from ChatGPT. Like, you're literally using it as a brainstorm session. If you know what to put in for the keywords and how to ask ChatGPT, I think there's still some finesse that, you have to ask the right questions, can't be too broad, has to be more specific into what you're looking for. But it's like, whoa, what is this? This is like last year, November, December, this wasn't a thing. And now this is like becoming an actual thing. It's really caught my mind. I really have nothing to say about it except to share with you how I'm thinking about it right now. And if I ever use it, I'm going to tell you guys that I'm using it. Like, I'm not going to suddenly, do a switch and bait with you guys where, hey guys, from now on, this is pohhuexp AI. The voice that you're hearing is actually all AI prompted. I just fed it all the videos and podcasts that I've ever made. And now I can just chill and make 2 podcast episodes every day on any topic in the world. It's like, it's not going to get there. I think it's not going to get there. That's kind of scary if it gets there. But yeah, I'm kind of excited to see where all this goes and have it all sink in for me to see if there is opportunity for me here to, well, make better content, really. And so we've come to the last segment, which is the usual, as we have in the past 2 episodes. We're going to do another recipe breakdown. And this week, we're going to do, technically, it's only 3 recipes, but there's a 4th secret that I kind of want to share that has some moral, ethical issues, but I'm still going to share. So today, we're going to be going through dumplings, the classic chili, and kung pao chicken. And so let's start with the dumplings. Dumplings are actually really easy to make, but then living in Taiwan, there's just no reason for me to make it because there's so much dumplings sold. Like, you can get frozen dumplings, homemade dumplings. There's like a million different kinds of dumplings. I mean, we're the home to Din Tai Fung, right? Ever since moving back, it's been not even a rare case. It's a never case that we make our own. No, wait, we did make our own dumplings once. Mommy made our own dumplings once. Okay, sorry guys, I gotta scratch that whole thought process. But where I was going with that was dumplings are really easy to make, and if you control the ingredients within the dumplings, it can actually be really, really calorie friendly and macro friendly. Like, you could totally make a high protein dumpling, and it's not like putting in protein powder. It's just getting lean meat inside instead of the fatty meat. And then because dumpling skin is usually not that thick, and if it is thick, you can always roll it to be thinner, and then you just have a really nice indulgent meal, very tasty, very nice, and it's still like hitting all your macros and within your calorie limit. But anyway, let's get into the ingredients. And so this recipe I'm looking at, it says for 24 dumplings. So it needs 4 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1.5 cup of warm water, 2 cups of red cabbage, 2 cups of green onion, 6 cloves of garlic, 4 tablespoons of ginger minced, 2 tablespoons soy sauce, 2 tablespoons sesame oil, half a pound of ground pork, half a teaspoon of pepper, 3/4 cups of mushroom, 3/4 cups of carrot, and half a pound of shrimp. And so just looking at this recipe, there's really not much to change. Like all the stuff in it that gives it its nice flavor and taste, you don't have to take anything away at all. Maybe the sesame oil, you can have it instead of 2 tablespoons, you just put 1. But then you have to think about, okay, 1 tablespoon of sesame oil is roughly 120 calories, right? So 2 tablespoons is 240 calories, but that's divided by 24. So then each dumpling is actually additional 10 calories because of the 2 tablespoons of sesame oil. And then if you put it down to 1 tablespoon of sesame oil, it's only additional of 5 calories per dumpling. I don't know. I guess it depends how much you love sesame oil. I feel sesame oil can really bring out a lot of nice flavors, and 5 extra calories for it per dumpling isn't a big deal at all. But if you feel it's a big deal, you could totally just take it away. I think it's just for the fragrance. It's not for like, how the meat stick together or anything. It's not going to make a big difference. It's a taste difference rather than a structure difference. I mean, I guess it makes a difference. Like if you're eating 10 dumplings and it's 10 calories less each, that means you just save 100 calories. I guess, it's up to you if you want to do that or not. The things that you 100% can change is the ground pork. The shrimp, I wouldn't change because shrimp is just not high in calories at all. It's totally fine. You could even use more shrimp and less ground pork. That works too. But the ground pork helps everything stick together. So I'm not sure how much you could take away from that. But one thing you can definitely change is when you're getting ground pork, you get the lean type. You don't get the fatty type. Like that makes the world of difference. Just like beef, if you're using like 90% lean, 10% fat, or 98% lean, 2% fat, it really makes a difference in the calories in the end. Over here in the wet market, there's a stall that I go to that sells fresh pork, and they have different parts of the pork all laid out on the table, and you could actually choose the one that you want and have them mince it for you because they have the mincing machine. A while back when I was making that gochujang sauce mincemeat regularly, I always went for like almost 100% lean. There was just no fats at all, the part of the pork that I chose, and that's something 100% you can do here as well with the dumplings. And of course, you don't have to use pork, right? You could use minced chicken breast, you could use minced beef that's more on the lean side. It doesn't have to be pork at all. By making sure you use a leaner cut, you will definitely minimize the calories there. Everything else, there's not really much to change. I guess the 4 cups of all-purpose flour, there's not much to change there, but it's just when you're making the skin of the dumpling, you could be a bit cheeky and try to make it as thin as possible. Then there's less skin that you're eating, which means less calories, but then that's also up to you. It wouldn't make the biggest difference, but it will make a small difference. And so the second recipe today is the classic chili. And I have to tell you, the first time I ever had chili was at Wendy's. That's the first time I ever knew what the hell chili was. I used to think chili was, chili, this hot spice, this hot food. I didn't realize that chili was a whole dish, and I absolutely loved it. Chili goes so well with really everything, right? It goes well with rice, it goes well with noodles, it goes well on bread, it goes well as a hot dog topping, and the ingredients in there are really mostly just whole foods. It's just so much great flavor, so much great taste. Can be super macro and calorie friendly if you tweak the ingredients. And so let's look at the ingredients. It is 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 1 medium onion, 1 pound of 90% lean ground beef, 2 tablespoons of chili powder, 2 tablespoons of cumin, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1.5 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of ground black pepper, 1.5 cup beef broth, canned tomatoes, canned kidney beans, can of tomato sauce. Looking at this recipe right here, really, again, not much to change, really. I guess the 1 pound of 90% lean ground beef, you could make that into 98%. That will cut down the calories by a lot. It has 2 tablespoons of sugar. I think that's just not worth taking out. Just keep the taste in. I mean, 2 tablespoons is 100 calories, but if you're making a pound of ground beef, that's a lot of servings. And, 2 tablespoons of sugar is just not a lot for that much amount of beef. Because I've made chili before and know that you can take this out without affecting the taste too much is at the end where it asks for a can of tomato sauce. A can of tomato sauce tends to have a little bit higher in calories. Instead of using tomato sauce, you could just use a can of tomatoes instead, and then adjust the taste using salt, pepper, Worcestershire sauce, or even vinegar, because that's what you get from the tomato sauce, right? You get a little bit of acidity, a little bit of sour, a little bit of sweet, a little bit of salty, and all that you can do with spices that have basically no calories at all. So I think you can take away the can of tomatoes. You can definitely change the percentage of the lean ground beef you're using, and everything else just basically stays the same. And this makes my mouth water. Like, this is a lot of good protein, a lot of good nutrients, and a super, super flavorful. Like, this I would recommend. Like, this is even great for meal prep, right? You just make a huge pot, and that's likely like 5 to 7 days worth. And you could even freeze this. I think this type of recipe is freezer friendly, so you can make a big batch, freeze it, and when you want it, just heat it up. You can even add ingredients to it while you heat it up. That's just a quick meal for a one-time cooking effort. And so the third recipe is kung pao chicken. I gotta say, I really love kung pao chicken, especially the ones they have here locally, which they usually make with like cashews and dried chili. It just goes really, really well with rice. My only thing with it is every time I go and have it, for some reason in Taiwan, they don't like using chicken breast for it. They like using chicken thighs. So it's always higher calories than I would like, but I know that the original recipe, I think it uses chicken breast. Or perhaps it's the places that I'm regularly going to that they're using chicken thighs. But either way, here's the recipe. So for the chicken, over here, it asks for chicken breast. So 800 grams of boneless, skinless chicken breasts, cut into 1-inch cubes, tablespoon of Shaoxing wine or dry sherry, very, very low in calories, no problem there. Tablespoon of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of cornstarch, all cool. That's the chicken part. The sauce is 1.5 cup low sodium chicken stock or broth, 5 tablespoons of light soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of Chinese black vinegar, 2 tablespoons of Shaoxing wine. By the way, I don't think you have to use Shaoxing wine, like any wine will do. You can even use mirin, like it will work. It might taste a little bit different, it's still gonna work. Don't worry about the type of wines whenever it comes to recipes. Unless you're trying to like make the exact recipe, then yeah, you have to use that exact wine. But variations never hurt, especially like many variations. 2 teaspoons of dark soy sauce, 2 teaspoons of hoisin sauce, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of cornstarch. And so that's the sauce. I think you're supposed to mix the sauce with the chicken before it gets all cooked, so you like mix it all together in a big bowl. And then there's the stir fry part where you need 4 tablespoons of cooking oil, you need 4 to 6 cloves of garlic, tablespoon of ginger, red pepper, green pepper, 8 to 10 dried chili cut in 1/2-inch pieces, table inch of Sichuan peppercorn, lightly toasted, 4 onions, scallions, 1/2 cup of unsalted peanuts, and optional 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. Okay, so it's a long-winded recipe, right? But if you really break it down, there's a lot of places you could just make this really calorie friendly and really taste absolutely freaking amazing. And so where do we start? The chicken, you don't have to do anything because it's already calling for boneless, skinless chicken breast. That's as lean as meat's gonna go. Nothing to change there. For the sauce, it says the sugar is optional. I guess you could take it out. The stir fry is where I think the biggest changes you can make is. It asks for 4 tablespoons of cooking oil. I don't think you need that much. I think 1 tablespoon would be more than enough, especially if you're using a non-stick pan. Then it also has that 2 teaspoons of sesame oil optional. I think you could use 1 teaspoon because remember, sesame oil it really brings out a lot of flavor. I guess you could skip it, but I think it's always a plus if you add it. And remember, 1 teaspoon is only roughly like 35 calories. Not a big deal at all. Here's the biggest part, and I think it might be controversial, and it's the 1/2 cup of roasted peanuts. I think you can completely take it out because the heart of kung pao chicken is in the dried chili and the peppercorns. It's not really in the peanuts at all. The peanuts make the texture really great when you're eating it, right? You have something soft and then you have a crunch. But when you're on a day-to-day diet, that's not exactly something you need. It's nice to have, but it's not something you need. So you could totally take the peanuts out. And if you do that, you're cutting the calories. Like 1/2 cup of peanuts is 431 calories. You're just taking that away from the dish. So that makes a big difference. Now, of course, you don't have to take it out completely. You could add in a little bit, like, 50 calories worth or 100 calories worth. I gotta tell you, that's not a lot, right? You're talking like 6 to 12 pieces of peanuts if it's like, 80 to 120 calories. But at least you get a little bit if that's what you want. If not, just take the peanuts out of the equation, stick to the chicken breast, just follow the recipe as it is, and you got kung pao chicken that is calorie friendly, macro friendly, and tastes freaking amazing. And so the last thing that I want to share is going to be, I don't know, I never shared it because I felt it was a bit controversial. I didn't want to have the conversation. But basically, if you really love instant noodles, you could always get the sauce from the instant noodles. Don't use the noodles in the instant noodle packet. Instead, go for shirataki noodles, which is absurdly low in calories, or some other form of noodles that is lower in calories. Because instant noodles tend to be higher in calories because they're fried. I know there's some out there that aren't fried, and those will be lower calories by itself, then there's no need to do this switch. But most of the ones that we love, Shin Ramen noodles, Indomie goreng, all those noodles are fried first in order to preserve like their shape and all. So technically, if you just went with fresh noodles, like fresh flour noodles, it will be lower calories than the instant noodle itself. So for example, if I'm not wrong, like over here, we can buy dried flour noodles. It's just noodles made of flour, and it's dried up. There's no frying process with it. So each serving is about as big as an instant noodle serving, but it's only 200 calories. Remember, Shin Ramen noodles is like 500 calories. Indomie goreng is like 400 calories. You just reduce 200 calories by switching out the noodles because the calories in instant noodles aren't in the sauce, it's in the noodles itself. So by doing that, and if you use like shirataki noodles, the shirataki is like 30 calories for a normal serving of like instant noodles. That's like a lot of volume. It's just difference of night and day when you do this if you want to enjoy instant noodles on a more regular basis. Now, where's the controversy? The controversy is, what the hell do you do with the instant noodles? I guess you could throw it away, but then it's like kind of wasting food, and I don't really want to be promoting that. Like whenever we do it, I feel bad when I throw away food, right? So I've done that before, like use another type of noodles and not the instant noodles, but the instant noodles I still keep, and I'll wait for a day that maybe we're making a dish that has soup or something. I'll cook the instant noodles and then use that noodles on the side for another meal. Like maybe that day, I have a lot of calories to spend, and so I'll use it then. I never had the heart to just throw it away, but I know for some people that don't care, and I guess that's something you could do. This time, like I mentioned, I got lucky because I've been making like soup broth using instant noodle seasoning, but it's because, my mom has a bunch of it and she saves, she's the type that saves everything, right? We go to McDonald's, she saves the sauces, we buy takeout, she saves the chopsticks and the forks. So she has a drawer in her place where it's just full of this, and I opened it and I saw so much Shin Ramen seasoning, because whenever she makes Shin Ramen, her and my dad, she'll make 2 packs, but they think, 2 packs of seasoning is way too salty, so they'll only use 1. So I struck gold there, and I just, stole a lot from there, which it's not really stealing because she just leaves it. Like I think she has some that have been there since like 2019, so I had to go and look at expiry dates as well, which a lot of them didn't have it labeled on the seasoning pack itself, so I just kind of had to feel it. The ones that are still more powdery, they're probably the fresher ones, and the ones that have become like a solid state, those have probably been a couple of years. But either way, that's a hack to eat lesser calorie instant noodles. And I think it's especially helpful that sometimes, you just really have that craving, but then you really don't want to give into it because there's a lot of calories. Because let's face it, 400, 500 calories from instant noodles is no small number. And worst part is, I think for most of us, instant noodles doesn't really make you feel that full, right? Especially if it's just 1 pack. It won't last you very long. So this is kind of a workaround with it. Because if you think about it, Shin Ramen, right? 500 calories. If you use the seasoning pack and you cook 2 normal flour noodles, which is 200 calories each, that means you get to eat 2 Shin noodles for 400 calories, while if you use the instant noodles, it would cost you 1,000 calories. Like, it's a big difference for the satisfaction. But yeah, just thought I'm going to share that. Just thought I'm not going to keep any more secrets. I'm just going to start sharing all the little things that before I thought would be controversial. I didn't really want to say it on my channel. I guess that's what the podcast is for too, right? It's for me to share all these tips and tricks that I've had racked up over the years. And so I guess that kind of wraps up this episode. I had another topic I wanted to talk about, but I think this episode's getting a little bit too long. So we'll talk about next time. It's about really hacking down what it's like to have abs, the 6-pack dilemma, the 6-pack lie, I don't know how to clickbait the title, but basically having abs isn't as cool as you think, and there might be things that you want to consider about it. But that will be for next time. So, hope you stay tuned, and I will see you next week. Peace.